Welcome to LIVEDAF, your online Daf Yomi Shiur.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi Shabbos Daf Kufches. We are 4 lines from the top. Says the Gemara, Chayav Oif. The Mishnah taught us if one inflicts a wound, a bruise on a Chaya, a Oif, he has done a malacha until Neshama. Because unlike some of the other creatures that we discussed yesterday, the redness that is present on their skin after being hit is just merely indicative of something temporary. It's something which is going to revert back to its natural state. It's a temporary discoloration. It doesn't indicate any sort of permanence whatsoever. However, when it comes to Chaya and Oif and some of the other Shvatzim who have oir, they have a thicker skin, a redness there is indicative of something of permanence. It's something which is not going to revert back to its natural state. It indicates something more serious, blood having left the bloodstream, gathered together, clotted. And therefore, he has done a malacha until neshama. Why? Because the nefesh of the animal is embedded in its blood, and when blood leaves the bloodstream, eventually it's going to be eliminated from the body. He has taken part of the life of the animal. So the Mishnah tells us that a chaya and a oif are both in this category, and their skin is regarded as hide. They have a skin of a thicker consistency, and the mark, the bruise, is indicative of something more permanent and is a malacha. Says the Gemara, Amar Afuna, Koisvin tefillin al gabi oir shel oif tahor. One may write tefillin on parchment produced from the oir, the hide of a kosher bird, because a oif, his skin is not merely some soft membrane which is considered to be part of his flesh. It's considered to be oir, has a status of hide, of leather, of parchment. Amar of Yosef, Micah Mashwan. What is the chiddush being presented here? The islay oir, that foul bird has oir, has hide. Chtanina, we already learned this in our Mishnah, Chayil ben Chayev, that if one bruises even oif, even a fowl, even a bird, he's chayev. Apparently, its skin is regarded as oir, as hide. Amalei Abaye, so Abaye responded, Tuva Kamashwan, Rav Huna is actually teaching us a great chiddush. The imi masnisin havamina. If only from the Mishnah, I would have said, Kiven the isbei nikvi. Certainly, this oif, his skin is considered to be hide, but perhaps it's not kosher for writing tefillin on it. Why? Kiven the isbei nikvi. Since there are these holes, these perforations, these punctures, nikvi, which form the base for the feathers. So this the skin of the oif is bei nikvi. Right? So perhaps I would say you cannot write tefillin on it. Kamash Malon. Therefore, Rav Huna teaches us, yes, you can write on it. Why? Keda'amri Marava, like they said in Marava and Eretz Yisrael, called nekef. Anytime there's a puncture in the parchment, which is small enough, she'adyoy olaf, that the ink simply passes right over it and doesn't sink into it. It's such a small hole. Eini nekef, that is not regarded halachically as a problem. We don't view it as a hole, and therefore one can write on it. Here as well, these small perforations in the skin of the oif are not reckoned with. Let's take a look at Rashi. Rashi here is 4 lines from the top, beginning with the words nikvi. So the skin here features these holes, mokoi moishav noita, the place, the basis for the feathers. So perhaps that would preclude writing on it. Why? Loy nichtayv. The Rachmana Amar uchsavtam. The Torah says we're meant to write the tefillin, and the word uchsavtam, referring to the words of tefillin and mezuzah, is indicative of ksiva tama. We make a drush, and it needs to be a full, a complete writing, complete letters. Ksiva tama shleima, v'loim of sekas, not choppy. So if it has holes, perhaps it's not suitable. Therefore, the Gemara tells us, yes, it is, it's okay. And that is the chiddush of Rav Huna. In accordance with the formula presented by the Marava, the ones in Eretz Yisrael, that if the hole is small enough where the ink simply covers right over it, it is okay. Continues the Gemara. So we said that the skin of even an oif is regarded as oir, as hide. Meisvei, says the Gemara, Masiv Rav Zer. Rav Zer asked the kasha. The pasuk says bechnofav. So we're speaking about oila sa'oif, a carbon of a oila which is offered by using an oif, and the pasuk says that they used to they cut it open, they split it, not completely but partially. Lo yada, don't complete the splitting. So the pasuk says, "V'shisai say b'chnafav." What does the word b'chnafav mean? That we're meant to split the oif, the bird, while the knafav, while the feathers are still on it. So the pasuk here is teaching us lahachshir es ha'or, that the skin of the bird is still intact when they are makriv the oilas ha'oif. So we see here that apparently the skin of a bird is not regarded as hide. Now, if you maintain that the skin of a bird is regarded as oir, how could you say that the Torah is including it in the carbon? We know that hide of an animal, of a behemoth, for instance, is meant to be removed from the animal prior to hakrava. So apparently, the fact that the Torah tells you to include the skin of the bird when it comes to the carbon of oilas ha'oif, apparently the Torah is indicating to us that it is not status, it's not considered, it doesn't have the halacha of oir. So how can you say that we can use it for tefillin? So this seems to be a brisa that Rav Zer is asking from, that b'chnafav is coming to be machshir the oir, to include the oir in the carbon. Amalei Abai responds to Rav Zer, that's not a kasha. Oiru, yes, indeed, the skin is regarded as leather, as hide. V'rachman Rabbi, and the Torah included it. The Torah made a riboy to tell us, yes, even though this has a din of oir, it is included in the oilas ha'oif. Ikadamri, there were others that had a different version on the chain of events here in the Gemara. So we began with Rav Huna telling us that one may use the skin of a oif toir for tefillin. And Rav Zer came along and he actually supported, instead of asking from the brisa, he actually supported from the same brisa. Afanana mitanina, we also learned in a brisa, b'chnaf of l'rabbi s'or. Pasuk is teaching us that we are makriv the carbon of the oilas ha'oif together with its skin. So it's all well and said if you maintain that the skin of the oif is regarded like oir. Hainu, it's your color buy. That's why the pasuk needs to include it. To teach you that don't regard this like the oir of the behemoth, which is not included in the carbon. This is an exception. So it needs to come and tell you that, because otherwise I would think it can't be included in the carbon because it is regarded like hide. But if you maintain that the skin of a bird is not considered to be oir, so what is the need? Why does the Torah need to go ahead and be marbe include the skin? Why would I think that it shouldn't be included in the carbon? Apparently, it's simply because it's exactly for this reason, because it is oir. That's why the Torah needs to come and say, regardless of the fact that it's oir, included in the carbon. Abai responded, no, you can't make it right. Perhaps we can say, no, the skin of a oif is not regarded as leather. Why then does the pasuk need to specifically include it in the carbon? Why would I think otherwise? Perhaps I would say, given the isbe pirtzi, because since the skin of the bird has pirtzi, these cracks, these holes that we discussed earlier, that form the basis for the feathers. Perhaps I would think, due to that, mois, it is repulsive. You can't bring it as part of the carbon, not because it's leather, but because of a different reason. Kamashmon, Torah needs to tell you, yes, include it in the carbon. So two versions of events here. Rav Huna gave us that statement that the skin of a bird is suitable for writing tefillin, is considered to be oir, has a din of hide, of leather, of parchment. We have two versions of events. Either Reb Zer was asking a kasha, and Abaye responded by reconciling the kasha, by answering the kasha, or in the reverse, Reb Zer brought a raya, and Abaye responded by pushing away the raya. That's inconclusive. Continues the Gemara. Boimene marbre darvina, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. So Mar, the son of Ravina, asked of Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Ma'u lichtayv tefillin al gabi oir shel dog tahar. So we discussed writing on the skin of a fowl, of a bird. What about writing tefillin on top of the parchment produced of the skin, the hide of a kosher fish? So he responded, Im yavai Eliyahu v'yaymer. If Eliyahu will come and tell us, then we'll know. What does he mean to say? My im yavai Eliyahu v'yaymer. What do you mean to say? So Rashi points out It can't be that what he meant to say that Eliyahu Navi will come and tell us the halacha. We don't learn from Eliyahu Navi. Rashi says, Torah is lav b'shamayim. The pasuk says the Torah is not up in heaven. It's meant to be determined by the us human beings in this world. So it can't be that we're waiting for Eliyahu Navi to come tell us the halacha. So what does he mean to say if Eliyahu Navi will come and tell us? Perhaps he needs to come to tell us the practical phenomena, whether or not it has hide. Says the Gemara, that's what we need him for. We ourselves see that it has hide. Apparently, its skin is considered to be thick enough that we regard it as oir. We don't need Eliyahu to tell us that. And additionally, even halachically speaking, we have a Mishnah which teaches us that the skin of a fish is regarded as oir. So we have a Mishnah in the Maseches Kelim. V'oid hatnan, haven't we learned in the Mishnah? Atzomes hadag v'oiroi, the bones, utensils made from the bones of a fish bones. V'oiroi, made from the oir, the skin of a fish. Matzilin b'oilames, they have the ability to protect in an oilamate. So we're referring to the halacha of tzamid pasel, if there's a kli which is properly sealed, and this kli is either a kli cheres, or in this case, even made from fish bones or fish skin, it has the ability to protect its content, even if it's sitting in an oil mace under the same roof as a mace. And that's only because this kli is not makabel tumah. It does not have the ability, it's not susceptible to tumah. And that's why it has the ability to go ahead and protect its content. So kli cheres protects its content because it is not makabel tumah on the outside of the kli. Likewise, when it comes to the fish bone, and this is the utensil made from the oir of the dog, since it does not is not makabel tumah, unlike the other utensils made from other types of animal bones. Rashi brings made from bones of animals or leather, it is makabel tumah. So this is different because it's made from a fish. So apparently, this is considered to be oir. The skin of a fish is regarded as leather, as hide. It's not regarded simply as the flesh of the fish, which is certainly makabel tumah. So we see clearly that halachically speaking as well, the oir of a dog is regarded as oir, as hide, and not as its flesh. So again, why do we need Eliyahu Navi to come tell us this information? Says the Gemara, Ella, rather, im yavai Eliyahu v'yomer, if Eliyahu Navi comes and tells us, if the zoma, the stench present in the fish and the skin of the fish was paska minei, has ceased to exist from it through the processing into parchment, ilai paska zomine, whether the zoma still there has not ceased to be present in the parchment. So this is something that needs to be determined by Eliyahu Navi, and which will determine for us whether or not the parchment produced from the skin of a fish is suitable for the writing of a tefillin. So in summary, parchment produced from the oir of oif is certainly suitable. From the oir of a fish, yet to be determined. Continues the Gemara. Shmuel and this person Karna, Havu Yasvi, they were sitting Aguda Denor Malka, on this river bank, on the bank of the river Malka, this royal river, some say it's referring to Nahar Pras, which is the main river listed in the amongst the other rivers in the beginning of Bereshis. So he was sitting on this riverbank, and Shmuel noticed something unusual. Chazinu l'maya, he noticed the water, the kadolu v'achiri. They were rising up, they were being wavy. It wasn't a windy day, and they were being wavy, v'achiri, and trepid and muddy. Amalei Shmuel l'karna. So Shmuel turned to Karna and he said as follows: I see Gavra Rabba Ka'asim Arav. I see that a great man is arriving from the west. Rashi explains this river was flowed from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel. So apparently there's a great person arriving in the river. V'chayish b'moi, he has some sort of stomach condition. V'kadolo maya, and the water is rising like bully apakame to be makabel panim in front of him, meaning to create that enclosure, to give him that privacy when he needs to relieve himself. So he's apparently a great person who's suffering from some digestive ailment, digestive condition, And Shmuel, Taisa explains, Shmuel was a Reifa Mumcha, was a expert, a doctor. So he wanted to help him, to heal his condition. So he told Karna, Zil, go, toile akankane, go scent, go smell his keg, meaning, go check him out, go see if indeed he's such a great person, worthy of my attention, and then I'll go treat him. Azal, Ashkechel Rav. So Karna went ahead and he waited for the boat to arrive, and he encountered Rav. Indeed, he was a great man who arrived. And he began by testing him, peppering him with questions. Amalei, so he asked him as follows. Minayin shein koisen tefillin, elo al gabe oyer be'ema Torah. How do we know that tefillin only meant to be written on parchment produced from the oyer, from the hide of a behema Torah? Amalei, so Rav responded, Tichsiv, leman tia teres Hashem beficha. So that the Torah Hashem should be in your mouth. And the drush is, minam muta beficha. You can only write the Torah Hashem on material which is muta beficha, which is one is permitted to eat. So we can only use the parchment from a kosher animal. So that was the first question and answer. He proceeded with another question. Minayin ledam shu adam. How do we know that blood is meant to be red? Meaning, Rashi explains, we're speaking about the dam of a nida. How do we know that only dam of a nida, which is red in color, is considered to be dam and is tamei? Shenemar, so he responded from the following pasuk, Vayuru moyav, mi neged, so they saw the esamayim, the water, adumim kedam, red like blood. The pasuk is teaching us something, that the natural color of blood is meant to be red. So this was the second question and answer. The third one was, minayin lemila shvayis hamokim. From where do we know that mila is meant to be performed in that specific location? So he responded with the Gzera Shavah. Ne'amar kan arlosai. In the pasuk of Mila, the pasuk uses the word arlasai, v'arl zachar asher lo yi moilas b'sar. Arlasai, his arla, his covering. V'nemer lahal arlasai. And elsewhere, referring to the din of arla by a fruit tree, the first 3 years, the fruit that grows is aser, considered to be arla. So the word arlasai is employed in both contexts. So we connect it to the Gzera Shavah. Mala halon, just as over there by the tree. What is it referring to? Davar shayis pri, something which produces a fruit. Afkan, likewise, when it comes to the mitzvah of bris milah, is referring to davar shayis pri, is meant to be performed on the area which produces, on the aver of the zachar, which produces. Says the Gemara, Eima liba, perhaps referring to one's heart. Tichsiv umartem as orlas levavchem. You meant to remove the covering, the stuffing of your hearts. So apparently the term erla can be referring to one's heart as well. Ema aznai, perhaps mila is meant to be formed on the air. T'chsiv hine erla hine arela oznam. Their ears are stuffed up. So we see the concept of erla in reference to a heart, in reference to ear. Says the Gemara, we can't learn from there. We prefer learning from the fruit tree. Why? Donin arlasai tama, me'arlasai tama. Arlasai is tama. It's something comprehensive. It describes everything. The arlasai, his arla, it's more specific. So we use the word arlasai from bris milah, and we connect it to the word arlasai, which is a more comprehensive description, and which is contained in the pasuk of the tree. However, we're not going to connect the complete arlasai, which is a complete description, arlasai, his arla. We're not going to connect it to a word which is incomplete. Mi arlas she'ena tama. For instance, the word arla, which is by the heart, it's arlas levavchem. It's not so descriptive. It's only arlas. And likewise, by the ear, it's arei lo aznam. So it's not as complete as arlasai, and therefore we prefer connecting from bris milah to the arlasai that is contained by the in the pasuk of the trees. Amrle. So Rav he realized that he's being tested here, and he was kind of displeased. He says Amrle. So he told Karna, "My shmach, what's your name?" So he said Karna. Amalei, so Rav said, Yeh Rav, it should be Hashem's will, the typically karna beina, that a horn. Karna means a horn, some sort of skin should emerge, be'enei, in his eye, some sort of cataract. And indeed, the Farshim say that this is what happened. He, this some sort of skin thing came up and grew out of his eye. Okay, continues the Gemara. So now Karna was impressed by his responses, and Shmuel indeed was satisfied. He's Adam Gadol, Talmid Chacham. L'seif Eilei Shmuel Lebeisei. Eventually, Shmuel brought him into his home, and he wanted to heal, to remedy his condition. Oich le'nama d'sahar. He fed him barley bread, the kasada harsana, some sort of dish that has roasted fish with flour. Va'ashke shichra, and he gave him beer to drink. He didn't show him the Beis HaKisei where to relieve himself. Why? He had a point and purpose in mind. So that he developed some sort of diarrheal condition which Shmuel knew would help him actually benefit his ailment. Now Rav didn't know that he had a positive, that he had a purpose in mind. Layet Rav, so Rav uttered a curse. He said, V'omar, man de mitzaron, one who causes me discomfort and pain, he shouldn't have any sons. Indeed, this is what happened. He only had daughters. Eventually, the Farshim bring that Rav realized that Shmuel only had his benefit in mind, and he went and he appeased him. But in any case, we see that a klola uttered by a tzaddik, by a chacham, even if it's not really substantiated, there's no really grounds for it, nevertheless, it came to be. Continues the Gemara. Ketanoi, let's go back to the source of the bris milah, the location. How do we know where it's meant to take place? This is based on Machlokes Tanoi. Ketanoi. Menai lemila shebais makom. The Brisa says, how do we know that milah is to be done in that location? Nemar kan arlasai. By bris milah it says arlasai. Nemar lahalan arlasai. By the discussion of the fruit tree, it says arlasai ma lahalan. Just as over there, davar sheis a pri. It's referring to something which produces a fruit. Afkan. Likewise by bris, davar sheis pri. Divrei beish. So we know that it's meant to be formed on the aver of the zachar which produces. Rab Dasna ein tzarich. It's not necessary to learn it from this derivation. Very simple. Hari Omer, the pasuk says, "Va'aral zachar, ashal liyimah b'saralasai, b'saralasai." So the pasuk connects the arelas to the zachar, indicating that the location of the bris milah is meant to take place makam shenikar, the place where it's discernible between zachos and nakvas, between zachos and nakvas. So the gender is discernible, and that is the location of the bris milah. Let's go back to the halacha of the parchment needed to, what type of parchment do we write the tefillin on? Tanarabban, we'll learn to the Brisa. Koisvin tefillin al gabe oir behema tahira, on parchment produced from the oir of a kosher behema val gabe oir chaya tahira, or from a kosher chaya val gabe oir nevelos utreifa shalhen. Even on the parchment produced by the nevela and the treifa of the kosher animal. Nevela is an animal which dies. Treifa is, it develops some sort of wound, some sort of critical injury. So this animal that died, and it's not mutar b'achila. Treifa is, even when it's alive, is asur b'achila, can't shecht it. So these things, even though they're really asur b'achila, nevertheless they can be used for tefillin, as long as they belong in the part of the species of a behema, the chaya, that are tar. The Brisa continues that the parts of tefillin are meant to be wrapped with hair of these types of animals. When it's faris begidan, the encasing, the bottom, which house the parts of the tefillin. So the bias of the tefillin, when it's faris begidan, they are sewed using the gidan, the sinews of these types of animals. We learn this from the halacha, accepted from Moshe by Sinai, shat tefillin nechrachas v'sa'ar, and tefillin are meant to be wrapped with the hair of these animals, and it's faris begidan, and the bottom, the cases, are meant to be sewed with the sinews of these animals. Avol, says the Brisa, ein koisvin, one may not write lo al gabi or behema tmeya, parchment produced from the leather, from the hide of a behema tmeya, v'lo al gabi or chaya tmeya. Needless to say, al gabi or nevelo treifish lamb. certainly not on the parchment produced from the nevela and treifa of these types of animals. And the tefillin are not wrapped with their hair, nor are the boxes sewn using the sinews of these non-kosher animals. This Baisoisi, fellow of the belonged to the kat of the Baisoisim, some sort of heretic group. So he asked the following question as Rabbi Shua Garsi. What was this question? How do we know that tefillin not to be written on the leather of a non-kosher animal? So he said, it says, only on something which comes from mutar b'ficha, from an animal which is permitted for a person to eat. Ela me'ata. So he proceeded by asking, if that's the case, it needs to be mutar b'achila, ela me'ata. If so, al gabi or nevelis v'trevas al dikosvu. So even on parchment, which comes from a behemoth Torah, but it's an nevela or a treva, it died, or it developed this critical injury, and it is atar b'achila, it's not mutar b'ficha. So how could you use? If so, you cannot use their parchment as well. Amar Eloi, so Fri Jul responded, let me present you with an analogy. What is this equal to? L'shnei bnei Adam, to two people. They both were standing to receive capital punishment. So they were nischayiv getting killed l'malchus, to the authorities, to the king, the kingship. Echad hargoi melech. One of them, the melech killed him, the melech himself. Ve'echad hargoi is paklitar. The other one, who killed him, the ispaklita, the executioner. Which one of these two is superior? Certainly the one that the king himself killed. It denotes his superiorities, even though he was killed, but he was put to death by the king himself. That's choshev. If so, we understand that certainly, if one can use parchment produced from an animal which was slaughtered, which was killed by a person, then certainly can use parchment from an animal which was killed by Hashem himself, a nevela, treifa. Helamiata. So his fellow responded to Rabbi Shua by saying, okay, so if something which was killed by Hashem himself is considered to be superior, they should be mutar b'achila, one should have to eat them. So he said, no, this doesn't work to that extent. Torah specifically says, don't eat an avela. And you propose that they be eaten. So Torah specifically forbids an avela from being eaten. However, when it comes to writing the tefillin and the mezuzos, the Torah says, and we learn, it doesn't mean specifically, practically, mutter to be eaten, but it means the species, this type of animal, which is mutter b'ficha, that is suitable for the tefillin and the mezuzos. Amar lei, so this fellow responded, kalos, well said. Now Tosfos points out that even if the animal was killed by a person, nevertheless it's mutter. Meaning, when he responded, he said, well, we can use the parchment made by nevela treva because it was killed by Hashem, by the king himself. He didn't mean to rule out something which was killed by a human being. But the point here was that the Torah is telling us, Menamut b'ficha means this species, this min, this type. Anything included in this type is suitable for the writing of tefillin and mezuzos. This was simply a proof. He proved it. He says, you can't say that a nevela, a treif is inferior. So it must be that it also is included in the category of menamut b'ficha. And therefore, so he just points out, if that's the case, and even something killed by a human being is also included because it is the min, it is from that species of mutar b'ficha. So in summary, we learned that when we write tefillin on top of on parchment produced from the leather, from the hide of a behema, a chaya, which are tar, and also from even the parchment produced from the nevela and the treifa of these types of animals. On the parchment produced from the skin of an oif as well, the Gemara says, even though it's full of these holes, they're too small to be reckoned with. What about on the skin of a fish? That's left unresolved, waiting for Yoah to tell us whether it was cleansed of its stench and it's suitable or not. Continues the Mishnah. Ein oisin hilmi b'Shabbos. One may not make a saltwater solution on Shabbos, because saltwater is generally used for the pickling process, which is asur on Shabbos. Pickling is processing, is preserving the produce. It's related to the melach of ma'abed. Ma'abed means tanning, processing the hide of an animal on Shabbos. So therefore, a person should not prepare salt water, which it appears as though he's preparing it for the pickling process. Continues the Mishnah, Aval oisu is me'am melech. But he can make a small measure, a small amount, small quantity of salt water, v'tovel ben pitoi, which he uses to dip his bread into it, to pour it into his dish. What difference does it make? How much? The quantity. Either way, it's still hilmi, it's still salt water. Whether in large quantity or small quantity. Rather, says Rav Yosi, I'll give you an example of salt water, which is mutar on Shabbos. What type of salt water is mutar? If he pours oil initially into the water prior to adding the salt, or alternatively, he pours the oil directly into the salt prior to adding the water, in which case the resulting saltwater solution will not have that same intensity as your typical salt water, and therefore it's mutar. Continues the Gemara. Maika Amar. Let's go back to the Tanakama, who began by saying you cannot make hilmi, but you can make salt water. Aren't they one and the same? Maika Amar. Well, what is he saying? Amar Vidam Shmuel Hochi Kamar. This is what he means to say. One cannot make a large quantity, large amount of salt water. It appears that he's going to use it for pickling. But a small measure that he can do, simply preparing his meal, that's not included in the Isser of making a hilmi. Rav Yosi responds by saying, what difference does it make whether it's in large quantities or in small quantities? It's the same thing, it's the same hilmi, whether it's a lot or a little. Says they had a following question. How do we understand Rav Yosi's words? Rav Yosi le'eser, Rav Yosi is coming to prohibit in all cases. He turns to the comment and says, well, you can't permit a small measure, just as in large quantities it's asur, likewise in small quantities it's asur. Or perhaps just the opposite. He's coming to permit in all cases. He holds that just as in small quantities it's mutar, likewise in large quantities. Rabbi Yosi is actually coming to permit. Why? Simple. The fact that Rabbi Yosi doesn't respond to the Tanakama by saying, well, I hold it to asur. You say you can make a small measure, I hold it to asur. Apparently Rabbi Yosi disagrees. He holds that it's mutar in all cases. And he tells the Tanakama, listen, you can't differentiate between a large quantity and a small quantity. If you are matir a small measure, you should be matir, you should permit a large measure as well, because Rabbi Yosi holds, and in all cases it's mutar. Amalei Rabba. So Rabba responded by saying like this: the fact that the Mishnah, the latter portion of the Mishnah, which is Rabbi Yosi speaking, says as follows: Rabbi Yosi stipulates this is an example of permitted salt water, putting the oil in first. Apparently Rabbi Yosi holds ordinary salt water indeed is asur, and he's challenging Tanakami, saying, well, in all cases, whether large quantities or small quantities, it's asur. Ella amar Rabba le'eser. Indeed, Rabba says, Rabbi Yosi here is disagreeing entirely. He holds that it's always asur, whether small measures or large measures. The only way it's mutar is the formula with the oil, which is poured in first. V'chein amar Rabbi Yochanan likewise said, le'eser, that Rabbi Yosi is prohibiting in all cases. Tanami hachi. We have likewise in our brisa, one may not make a large quantity of salt water, to place into the pickled produce, which is going to be pickled in this gistra, this broken piece of pottery, which is generally used for this purpose because it has no other purpose. But yes, he can make a small measure of salt water, use it to eat his bread with it, so pours it into his dish. So this is the opinion of Tanakam. Rabbi Yosi, just because these are large quantities and these are small quantities, are you going to say these are us and these are mutar? How can you differentiate? How could quantity determine? If so, people will say, look, A malach on Shabbos, if it's done in a large amount, it's aser. Malach mu'etos muteres. But a small quantity of malach is muter. You can't differentiate between a lot and a little. If it's aser, it's completely aser. Ela, elu, elu asurnin. Both are aser. Ve'elu hein me melech hamutar. Rather, what is an example of permissible salt water on Shabbos? Nois and shemen melech. He places the oil together with the salt and only then adds the water. Or shemen mayim, or mixes the oil together with the water and only then adds the salt. So this results in a lower intensity salt water being produced. Ubavad provided that it doesn't initiate by mixing the water with the salt directly. Continues the Gemara, Tani Rabbi Yehuda bar Chaviv. Ein oisin mei melech azen. One may not produce strong salt water on Shabbos. So this is even according to the Tanakama, who allows one to produce a small measure of salt water, but that's provided that it is not mei melech azen. They aren't intense and strong. Says Gemara, what exactly does this mean? My mei melech azen. How do you define this? Rabba, Rav Yosef bar Abba, Damar Tavayu. So they both explain as follows. Kol sha'beita tzafapen. We're speaking about salt water which has such high salt content that the beita is tzafapen, the egg, will float in it. V'kama. How much salt is contained in here? What exactly, what proportion are we speaking about? Amar Abaye, Trei tilsa milcha. It is comprised of 2/3 salt, v'tilsa maya, and 1/3 water. L'may avdila. What do they make this for? Amar avolam riyaisa. They do this for the processing, for pickling of the fish. Tani Rabbi Yehuda bar Chaviva. A molchin snoin, one may not salt pieces of radish. Rashi explains the radish harden is considered to be processing the radish. Ubeitza, likewise salting an egg. B'Shabbos, it's also to do this. Rav Chizke b'Shmei Abaye Omar, snoin aser. Indeed, when it comes to radish, it's aser. It's considered to be processing it. Ubeitza muteres. However, when it comes to salting an egg, that's muter because apparently he holds that the transformation here is not considered to be significant enough. It's not considered to be processing the egg. Amar Rav Nachman, Mereish, initially, Hava malachna pugla. I would salt pieces of radish. Why? Amina. I figured, afsudi, come afsidnale. I'm actually ruining it because I'm reducing its sharpness. And that's not called processing it, I'm actually ruining it. The Amar Shmuel, because Shmuel said, pugla, a radish, churfei ma'ali, its sharpness is its quality. So I'm actually ruining it, I'm reducing its sharpness by salting it. Therefore, it's not regarded as ma'abed. I'm not processing it. It's not something positive. It's not an improvement. It's actually degrading it. Says the Gemara, but that was initially. Rav Nachman says, Kivan the Shamana. Once I heard, Laha dechi asa ula. This, that Ula came, when Ula came, Va'amar, and he said, B'marava, in Eretz Yisrael, in the west, Malchi kishikishri, they would salt piles and piles of radish. Apparently, they were trying to improve it. Apparently, salting it actually improves it. So as a result of that information, I changed my practice. Mimlach malachna, I no longer salt 2 pieces at a time. Tvuli vadai matvilna, certainly I dip 1 at a time and I eat it. That's not called processing, that's called derech achila, and it's mut. Tani Rabbi Yehuda bar Chaviva, esrog, tznoin, a radish, ubeitza, and an egg, ilmalik li pasnach etzayna. Not for the fact that they all contain some outer husk, outer shell, outer encasement, eidan yoitzin, they would never leave the person's system. They would get stuck, clogged. So it's good that these things have some sort of klipa. The esrog has a peel, its noin has some sort of peel, and the beitza, that's the white, which surrounds the yellow. Ki yasser Rav Dimi, Amar. Rav Dimi came and said as follows. May oilam loy tova gavra. It never happened that a person drowned b'yam d'stoim, and the yam of stoim, the salty yam hamelach, on account of its high salt content. Rav Yosef, ha'afucha stoim itself is overturned, va'afucha mila, and its words are overturned. The words that relate to stoim are also overturned. So he challenged the wording of Rav Dimi, which related to the yam of stoim. What does he mean? Garu de latava. Rav Dimi said a person never drowned. Only a person never drowned. Kshura tava. But do you mean to say that a kshura, a plank, a wooden plank, did sink? How could that be? Certainly, a kshura doesn't drown the Yam HaMelech. So why does Rav Dimi specify a person? Amalei Abaye. So Abaye responded, no. Let me buy a kamar. Rav Dimi meant to say, it's not necessary to discuss. Certainly a plank is not needed to be discussed. In any water in the world, a plank doesn't sink. So there's no discussion. The chiddush is even a person who generally can drown in other waters. However, when it came to Yam HaMelech, over there, nobody ever drowned. What is the point and purpose here? Is there any halachic application to this information? The fact that Yam HaDestoim contains a very high salt content, which causes things to float? Says more, yes, there is actually an halachic application. Such as the Rabbin have a shokel ba'azl acher de Rav Yirmiyah. Rabbin was carrying himself, was walking behind Rav Yirmiyah, aguda the Yam HaDestoim, on the bank of the Yam HaDestoim. Amalei, and Rabbin asked Rav Yirmiyah a question, a halachic question. Ma'u lemimshi mahanimayu b'Shabbos. What is the halacha regarding washing oneself with these waters on Shabbos? They have therapeutic qualities. Can one engage in washing himself with these waters on Shabbos? We know that refuah is asr on Shabbos. What about using these waters? One can rinse himself with these waters. So he continues asking, Ma'u lemeimatz l'miftach. Can a person meimatz close his eyes and open his eyes to allow the water to enter his eyes, to add a therapeutic effect? Amar lei. So he responded, Zulay Shamati. I never heard about this specific case, but I've heard about something similar. Now, what was their back and forth? Let's take a look at Rashi inside here. Rashi is in the middle of the Amud, which comes out about 30 lines from the top, beginning with the words, Mau lemimshi mahani maya. So this question was, can a person rinse himself with these waters? What was the question? Mi asa mishum refuah. Is it asa on account of refuah? The gazra banan, b'chol refuah is b'Shabbos. The Chachamim prohibited all refuahs, mishum shchika samamanim. All refuahs for minor conditions, on account of a concern that a person might actually grind the saman, the herbs, the ingredients necessary for the refuah. Ve'elum rapis is ayin, and these waters provide remedy for one's eye. So can a person use it? So he said, yeah, shapri dami, it's okay. Why? The lav buchachamilsa, the refuah of it, because it's not obvious that he's doing it for refuah. And therefore, afal pi, shemerapin shari, even though they actually provide cure, it's mutter. Why? Because the Issa D'Rabbanan is limited to a case where it's clearly done for refuah. The Tamad refuah da'asir, what is the reason why refuah is asir? It's not a malacha. The concern is that perhaps a person will come to grinding the herbs, the ingredients, which are like tchina shuav malacha. So Chachamim limited their decree, their gzeir, their isser, to only a case where it is obviously being done for refuah. So rinsing is mutter. So he proceeded to ask, what about the ma'ula meimatz l'miftach? What about closing and opening one's eye to allow the water to enter? Says Rashi, Loshen ein ma'atzmin esameis oitzim einav. Closing his eyes when he rinses with them on Shabbos. What is the halacha regarding closing and opening his eyes? So the waters go into the eye. So he responded, he says, you know what? I never heard the halacha regarding this specific case, but I heard something similar. The refuah of it, that one is engaged in an act which is obviously a refuah, asr, it is prohibited. Likewise, closing and opening one's eyes is considered to be something evidently, obviously being done for refuah, and it's asr. Says Rashi, now this is testimony for Rav Dimi, the Amar who said, that a person never drowned in the Yam HaDestoim. We derive from that testimony, from that bit of information, we derive this halacha. Since they have such high salt content, masu, they indeed provide remedy, they have therapeutic qualities, and one, although he can rinse himself, but he cannot open and close his eyes to allow that water into his eye to provide a refuah. Continues the Gemara. So once again he responded by saying, Lu Zulay Shamati, I haven't heard about this specific case. Kayotze Shamati, I've heard about something similar. And Rashi explains that if he opens and closes his eyes, he does it in a way which is obviously for refuah, it's awesome. So what was it that he actually heard? The Amar Rav Zera. That Rav Zera said as follows: Zimnin on occasion, sometimes Amar Le Mishmei Rav Masna, he would say this in the name of Rav Masna. V'zimin, on other occasions, Amar La, he said it over Mishmei Mar Ukva, the name of Mar Ukva. V'tarvayu, now both of these people, Rav Masna and Mar Ukva, Mishmei Da'avur D'Shmo V'Levi Amr. They said over these two halachas the name of Avur D'Shmo, the father Shmuel, and Levi. So what happened was Rav Zera repeated. Sometimes he repeated the name of Rav Masna, who he heard it from. Sometimes he would repeat that he heard it from Mar Ukva. These are two halachas. And Rav Masna and Mar Ukva both stated these halachas. There were two halachas, one of them in the name of Avur D'Shmo, one in the name of Levi. What were these two halachas? Chad Amar, so one of them, meaning either Avur D'Shmo or Levi, said the following halacha. There were two halachas. One was stated by Avur D'Shmo, one was by Levi. We're not sure which one. Now, one of them said, Chad Amar, Yayin b'soich ayin aser, placing wine inside one's eyes aser on Shabbos, because it's he's closing, opening his eyes. It's a refuah. It's obviously a refuah. Al gav ayin mutter, but merely on top of one's eye, it's mutter. It simply looks like he's rinsing his eye. V'chad Amar, and the other one said a different halacha. Roik tafel, saliva from one who is fasting, which have therapeutic powers. Afilu al gav ayin aser, even placing on top of one's eye, it's aser. Because why would a person rinse himself using this type of saliva? He's obviously doing it for. So these are two halachas, one regarding wine, one regarding the saliva. Now, one of them was stated by Avur D'Shmo, one of them was taught by Levi. We're not sure who taught what. It says in what is Tayim, you can conclude that Avur D'Shmo, who the Amar, he was the one who said, Yayin b'soich ayin aser, that wine inside the eye is aser, al gav ayin mutter, on top of the eye is mutter. How do we know it was Shmuel who taught this halacha? Why? The Amar Shmuel, because Shmuel, who is the son of Avur D'Shmo, he said as follows: Shoyro adam pita b'yayin. One may soak his bread in wine, and place it on top of his eye. B'Shabbos. The Shmuel Miman, who did he hear it from? Lav the Shmuel Miavo. Apparently, don't we assume that he heard it from his father? So it was Avur D'Shmo taught the halacha regarding wine. It says more, according to you, Hadam Shmuel. This that Shmuel also said, Roik Tafel, this saliva, Afilu al gabi ayin aser, even placing on top of one's eye, it's aser. The Shmuel Miman. Who did he hear this from? Ilay with the Shmuel Miavo. If you're going to say that this as well, he heard from his father. So both were taught by Avur D'Shmo. Ela Levi v'lo echada amar. So if so, there's nothing left for Levi. Levi didn't teach anything. We know that one halacha was taught by Avur D'Shmo, one by Levi. So you can't be right from the fact that Shmuel stated these two things. Ella, rather, Chada Shmuel Miavo. One of these two things, either the wine or the saliva, heard from his father, Chada Shmuel Levi. The other one he heard from Levi. And we don't know. Hai Miavo, which one came from his father? Hai Levi, which one came from Levi? Continues the Gemara. Amar Mar Ukva Mar Shmuel. Shoyro them kilurin erev Shabbos. A person may soak this kilurin, this paste used for the eye, which is a refuah. He may soak it in water from erev Shabbos, and then v'noisen al gav einav Shabbos, and then place it on top of his eye on Shabbos, and he has no concern whatsoever. Explains Rashi, because since we require him to do it on erev Shabbos, he will not come to mistakenly grind ingredients on Shabbos, since he has that hecker, that awareness, due to the fact that the Chacham obligated him to do it on erev Shabbos. Now, what about the onlooker? There's no concern either, because the onlooker will simply think that he's rinsing himself with this thing that looks like wine, appears like wine, so it doesn't look like a refuah. There's no concern. Continues the Gemara. Bar Levi have a koi kamed Mar Ukva. He was standing in front of Mar Ukva. Chazi. So he noticed that Mar Ukva was using this kilurin to have a maitu pasach. He not only placed it above his eye, he actually opened his eye. He closed and opened his eye to allow the kilurin to enter. So Bar Levi told him, Kuli hai. So much, this far, Levadei L'Sher Mar Shmuel, our master Shmuel, didn't allow. Placing it on the eye is okay. It appears like he's rinsing himself, but actually to have it absorbed in the eye, that is not allowed. Because that's obviously a refuah. Continues the Gemara. Shalach lei Rabbi Yanai Mar Ukva. Rabbi Yanai sent the following message to Mar Ukva. Mar Ukva was a Av Bezdin at the time of Shmuel, so he had access to Shmuel and to his medicines, and we learned earlier that Shmuel was an expert doctor, a Refa Mumcha. So Rabbi Yanai sent him the following message. Lishtalon Mar meaning master, you Mar Ukva, Lishtalon Mar, send to us Mihanach kilur the Mashmol, from those eye paste, those medicines of Mar Shmuel, of Master Shmuel. Shoachle, so Maruka responded with the following message: Shadurim Shadar Lach, indeed, I'll send to you. The Loitema Tsar Ainana, you shouldn't think that I'm a stingy person. Ella, rather, but you meant to know the following information. Hochem Shmuel. Shmuel himself provided the following advice. Toiva, it is better, more beneficial for the eye. Tipas Tsoin in Shachris, a drop of cold water placed in the eye in the morning, Urechitzas Yadayim Raglaim B'cham and Arvis, and rinsing one's hands and feet with hot water at night. That is more beneficial for the eye, Mikol Kilur Shebel Olam, better than all the Kilur in the world. So simply engage in this practice, you won't need these medicines. Tanya Nami Hachi, we learned the same in the Brisa, Amar Muna Mishar Yuda, Toiva, it is more beneficial, Tipas, Tzoin and Shachris, a drop of cold water in the eye in the morning, Urechitzas Ardayim Raglaim Arvis, and rinsing one's hands and feet at night is more beneficial to the eye, Mikol Kilurin Shabayla. Okay, so in summary, we began with the Mishnah, which told us that one is not meant to prepare salt water on Shabbos, because salt water is generally used in the pickling process, pickling of food, which is processing, which is preserving the food, which is not meant to be done on Shabbos. So a person shouldn't prepare salt water. It appears as though he's preparing it for the pickling process, which is asur. Tanakama told us that if he does just a small amount, it's mutter. The Gemara told us that's only provided that it's not meimelach azen, it's not that form of strong, powerful salt water. Rabbi Yossi disagrees. He holds that even in a small measure it's asur. The only time it's mutter is if he places the oil first, which results in a lower intensity solution produced. The Gemara told us that one may not salt pieces of radish. He can dip one at a time and eat it. Regarding salting an egg, we have a machlokes. The Gemara proceeded with the concept of refuah, and the point was that if it's done in an obvious manner, it's evident that he's engaged in active refuah, then it's asur. But if it's merely something which appears as though he's washing himself, engaged in normal activity, although it results in refuah taking place, that's mutter. The Gemara gave us several examples regarding the Yam Shel Zdoin, the water from the Dead Sea. One may rinse himself on top of his eye, but he cannot go ahead and open and close his eyes and allow that water in which it would be obvious that he's doing for refuah. Wine can be placed on top of one's eye, but not inside. Regarding that saliva, even on top of one's eye, it's also because it's obvious that he's doing for refuah. Regarding the kilur and these various eye pastes, he can place it on top of his eye, provided that he already soaked it before Shabbos. But inside one's eye, then it's obvious that it's being done for refuah and it's asur. Continues the Gemara, 2 lines from the bottom. Hu haya omer. This is referring back to Rimuna, mentioned in the Brisa. So he used to say as follows: Yad la'ayin tekatzitz. When one awakes in the morning, there's a ruach hatum, an evil spirit that rests on his unwashed hands. Therefore, he's not meant to touch any of the openings in his body. It can cause him harm. So yad, this unwashed hand, la'ayin, which comes into contact with his eye, tekatzitz, it should be cut off so that it doesn't engage in this practice anymore. Yad l'choitem, unwashed hand, which comes into contact with his nose, tekatzitz, it should be cut off. Yad la'peh, the hand which comes into contact with his mouth, tekatzitz. Yad la'oizen, to his ear, tekatzitz. Yad l'chasuda, to this opening in his body, which was created by the bloodletting, tekatzitz. Yad la'ama, to the opening in his body which allows the urine to exit, tekatzitz. Yad la'pitabas, the opening where the waste exits, tekatzitz. Yad la'gigis, the unwashed hand which comes into contact with this barrel of beer, it can ruin the beer, tekatzitz. Yad mesame, the hand, the unwashed hand, blinds when it comes into contact with his eye. Yad machreshes, it deafens when it touches the ear. Yad malo palifos, it produces this unpleasant smell when it comes into contact with his mouth or nose. Tanya Abnasanaimer, Bas Chaynizu, this evil spirit is a free spirit, an independent spirit. Umakpedes, it's very particular. It is makpid not to leave the person until the person washes his hand 3 times. Only then will leave his hands. Okay, time for a brief review of today's daf. We began with the halacha of parchment. The Gemara told us, we learned from the pasuk that it needs to be min ha'muta b'picha, produced from an animal, which is muta b'achila. Now, even if the animal happens to be a nevela or treif, that's okay, as long as it's from a species, a type of animal, which is muta b'achila. One can produce parchment even from skin of an oif, a fowl, even though it has those small holes. Those are insignificant. What about from the skin of a fish? We need to wait for Eliyahu Navi to come tell us about that. We have the story of Shmuel and Karna with Rav. Rav, who gave us the source, the mucker of three things: that parchment needs to come from a kosher animal, the dam of nida needs to be red, and the location of bris milah. We learned in the Mishnah that one may not produce salt water on Shabbos. The Kama allows a small amount. According to Rabbi Yossi, only if he places the oil first. One cannot salt pieces of radish. What about an egg? We have a machlekes. Engaging in therapeutic activities, if it's obviously for therapeutic purposes, it's asur. But if it's just something which looks like an ordinary activity, it's mutter. For instance, the yam shel zdaim, the water of the yam melach, or wine, he can place it on top of his eye, but not inside. The saliva, even outside, is asur. The kilorin, outside is mutter. Inside is asur, and we concluded with the ruach hatumah, which rests on one's unwashed hands. He may not touch any opening in his body until he rinses them 3 times.